All right, guys, today we have a 2011 Chevy Traverse, and what we're gonna try to attempt to do today is replace two motor mounts. We're gonna start with this one. This one is actually in there somewhere. Underneath the fuse box, underneath this cover. We gotta take this cover off. Fuse box gotta come out. Part of the wiring harness had to come out. This ground has to come out. But before you do anything, you have to come inside where the battery is located. If you didn't know, now you know. This is where the battery. Behind the passenger seat, front seat, you got to peel back the carpet. You got to take the trim off of here, the plastic trim like this one. It's here, like this. Pop it up. It's held by clips, so all you got to do is pry it off. Then you have a cover, and it's held by a screw. Okay, you end up using a T20 to remove it. Torx bit. Take it off, remove the cover, and you have access to the battery. Negative, positive. Remove the negative. That's a 10mm nut. Take that off, undo it, and then wiggle the terminal right off. Put it to the side. Make sure it's tucked away where it's not gonna come back here and touch the negative. You have to do this first before you start working on the front. Okay, because you're gonna be working on the fuse box and taking all the plugs off of that. And you want the power to be off completely. All right, we're gonna continue working. And I'll show you once I take off the covers and part of the fuse box. All right, so 15mm socket, and you can undo this one right here. And then you start taking the clips off. This one was missing all kinds of clips, so it was really just being held by two. And once you undo that, you also have to undo this rubber piece from here and the same over there. Once you do that, it should come right off. Yep. Now the next step is gonna be to work on the fuse box right here. We're gonna remove the power wire, the cover, and then I'll show you once I'm done with this part. 13mm. And then remove these two wires, right? Tuck them away so they're not in the way. And this is the reason why the battery needs to be disconnected. These two are hot wires coming to the fuse box. Power supply, basically. So put the nut back in there so you don't lose it. Now we'll work on the next part, which is removing this whole thing. The next step is I remove the cover. The next step is to remove these bolts. I don't think they come out completely, but they will release the fuse box from the bracket or the plugs. The release it from the electrical connection. What really holds this is these clips right here. It has clips all around there. I gotta undo those later. But first, the bolts, 10mm heads. All right, fellas, so you undo the bolts till they click. They kind of click, and the orange in the hole goes away. There's orange that shows up, some orange, I don't know if you can see in there, but there's some orange marks. They once you undo the bolts and you hear them clicking, you'll see those orange plastic go in. Once they go in and you hear them, the bolts kind of click, and those are in, that means you are disconnected. Now you can move on releasing the fuse box from the tabs on the side. All right, that has to be done properly. And when you put it back together, you need to see a good connection by turning the bolts tight enough to where they also click, and the orange plastic shows in the holes in both of them, right there and right there. And there you have it, folks. I undid it from the clips. You got to work it. You got to be patient. I use a screwdriver long enough. And you got to work it all around till eventually it pops right out. And then leave the connections behind. Okay? This is how it looks from the bottom. The screws don't come out, they stay in. See? It's simple. The clips are all around. You have 2 on this side, 2 on this side, 1 on this side. It has 2 on the back. All right, and those 2 bolts screw onto those 2 connections. That's what makes the connection nice and tight. But it has to be done right. Otherwise, you're gonna have all kinds of problems. All right, I just finished taking out the bottom part of the fuse box where it sits. Now this plastic piece came out, and the same thing, it has clips. Clips all around it. You gotta move the clips to the side while applying pressure coming up. Now, this plug that was right here, I moved it and I tucked it out of the way. And this one, I know you're able to split it, but I can't figure it out right now, so I'm working around it. I took the tray from underneath it, right? It has enough room to work around it, and I was able to take it out, pop it out, and just remove it from here, right? Without removing the plug or undoing the plug. The next step is this tray has to come out. It's got some bolts. You just got to find the bolts wherever they are, and whatever, any plug that's attached to the bracket there, like this one and this one, just pop them off, get them out of the way. But there's another bolt. There's a bolt there. I'm sure there's another one back there. And I think that's it. 1, 2, 3. Just 3 bolts. So I'm gonna go ahead and undo those. Like I said, remove the plugs out of the way, and I'll show you. All right. I undid the 3 bolts, and the bracket should be loose. I also undid the plugs. This one came out, and I left that behind. That goes on here, so it slides right out. And this one has one of these. Pop that out, it goes in the hole. Now I just gotta work the bracket out of it. So I can't hold the phone and do this at the same time, so. And I got this in the way too, so I'll move this out of the way and take it out. Just gotta work it and it'll come out. You gotta take it easy. You don't wanna hurt any other wiring or the plugs. Take your time. All right, fellas, so I undid it and I pulled it up this way. I pulled it away from the firewall, got it off the bolts, and then started working it up this way. And I got it out, okay? Now I can see the motor mount. And look how nasty it looks. Look, it's all broken. That is all broken. No wonder why this thing was knocking and making all kinds of shaking and making all kinds of noises. I had to change this one and the front one, which is down here somewhere. That's in the next video. But yeah, and I'll show you how to do this real quick. Okay, now I'm undoing the bolts. I'm using extensions, 2 long extensions. You can use 1 or 2 like me, and a 15mm socket to undo these 2 bolts. This one and this one. I'm using a 1/2-inch drive because they're tighter, and I'm using the extension so that I have space to turn the wrench. Okay. The bolts are different. Has a short one that goes closer to the firewall, and the long one goes closer to the front of the car. Okay, like this. One here and one here. Don't get them mixed up. Remove the motor mount. Usually they're easy to come out because they're busted up, so they come out easy. So we're gonna like this, start turning it, take it out. Hopefully there goes that piece. Fell right off. Okay, here's the new one. Compare it, make sure it's the same size with the old one. You have to put it in a specific way. Guess it's gonna fit regardless, as long as this part goes in the right direction, which is towards the front of the engine. It should fit. All right, let's see how it goes. So I went in like this, and I started turning. be easier said than done because of the fact that that motor mount, the front prod, is giving us, is allowing the engine to move forward. But let me see if I can work it without the phone. Hold on. All right, so this is a pain in the ass, but I got it to where once you get it in this position, I get it in there like I was showing you on the side, and you start turning it, and you just gotta have a lot of patience. And you work it. You work it and you try to get this hole to line up, and then the other one should fall in. Should fall right in, but it's not happening that easy. Guys, I almost got it in there. I had ended up jacking the motor up a little bit. The way I did it, piece of wood underneath the oil pan. Went up slightly, and I was able to get it in there. It's a pain in the ass. Ended up hitting it with the ratchet from one end and from the other end a little bit because you don't have a lot of room. But it's almost there. Just gotta have a lot of patience. This one's a pain in the ass, but it's almost there. All right, bolts are in place and nice and tight. So now everything is put it back together in reverse. The tray, then the plastic, then the fuse box, and the cover. Okay, I put the bracket back on. I put the plastic piece back on. Everything clicks right in. Everything goes back in place easy. These plugs fall right in place, and make sure they're nice and tight where they go. All right, they just come back where they were. Right, now remember, look at these. They're not 100% even. That's the way it is. That's the way it is on the box too. Those bolts are not even with each other. Okay, keep that in mind. Everything falls right back in place. This one plugged back in where it was. Same thing with this one. The bolts on the back, and the one on there, right there. And the plastic piece just falls right in, and it clicks in place. You'll hear it. It clicks right in place. Okay, I just put the fuse box, and it clicked in place. All the tabs are holding it nice and secure. I put my two wires back on. Don't forget, remember there's two. Put the nut back on. I'm gonna tighten this and tighten these up. And remember, there's orange gotta show right there and right there. You'll see. To make sure that you have a good connection. All right, we're gonna start turning these. A little bit on here, a little bit on this one. These are gonna bring the plugs up to the connection nice and tight. I don't know if you can tell, but I can see some orange showing up. See the orange? Like, they're not gonna break. You go as tight as you can till they stop turning. Well, they're not gonna stop turning. They're gonna kind of click, but you're gonna see the orange pop up. See the orange? There you go, click. That's as tight as it's gonna go. And that one clicked too. There you go, see the orange? See the orange right there? Orange and orange. Okay guys, cover's back on, fuse box is all put together, negative terminals back where it goes. If you guys didn't know what this is for when you jump the car. You go from positive and negative. This is like the battery connections for when you jump the car, okay? So this is back together. Now don't forget, you gotta do the battery too. So I'm gonna put back together the battery and cover everything up. And then we're done with this motor mount. All right, guys, just all put back together. I started up, everything started up right. No check engine light, everything feels nice when I put it in gear. It doesn't shake, it doesn't make strange noises, so we did good. But stay tuned, because the next video we are going to replace the front one. And that's going to be right in the front, and we're going to have access from the top for the top nut, and then go from the bottom and work it out. Another thing, guys, there's a cover that goes on here. I got to put it back on. You have to take this off, which is where you put the oil in, put the cover on. It clips on here and on here and on here. It just sits. Once it's in place, then you put the oil cap back on. All right, I'll show you when I put it on right now. Hold on. And the cover's back on. Put the oil cap back on, and it's good. Okay, guys, if you learned anything in this video, or if it was helpful, please leave me a like, a comment, share it with your friends, and subscribe. Thank you very much.